Hi there. This video is on the duel between the Cargyll twins in House of the Dragon. It's a bonus video I'm splitting off from my main review on episode 2. And the entire point is just that this is actually a relatively generic idea. Not that that's a problem, just on paper, the trope of brother against brother, a big epic duel. There's nothing particularly innovative about that, but the one-sentence point of this video is the difference is the execution. That everyone brought their A game from a checklist of technical aspects. Yes, the writing and acting, but also the fight choreography and the filmmaking in terms of the camera work and editing. Just all of this was on point, so it's a generic idea done really, really well. I like the example I've heard of someone trying to make a fancy steak and failing compared to a restaurant that makes a really, really good, perfect cheeseburger. That it's not the most innovative, subverting expectations idea, but as a book fan, knowing this was coming, even I was surprised at how great it was. I have nothing but praise, and I am openly gushing about it now. I did not think this would be a standout moment. I saw it as perfunctory. Just when we heard from the schedule, oh yeah, the duel of the Cargyll twins will be at the end of episode 2. I just, okay, I wasn't hyped for it. None of us were. Even though we saw it in trailers, it was coming. And then just, wow, that they managed to do that. And the inescapable comparison is to the duel between the Clegane brothers in Game of Thrones, as an example of what not to do. And fan nicknames and stuff, the duel of the Clegane brothers, which we think will be coming in later books, has been dubbed Clegane Bowl. So they kept hyping up Clegane Bowl is coming, Clegane Bowl is coming, and I think the books it'll be an entirely different context, but Clegane Bowl, when it came in Season 8, was infamously underwhelming, for a couple of specific reasons. So by comparison, we've been calling this Cargyll Bowl for years, for the books, and just how much better Cargyll Bowl was compared to Clegane Bowl, what went right and what went wrong. And it's not even as innovative as, oh, there's going to be this zombie brother and the city's going to be falling apart. It's one brother tries to sneak in to assassinate her, there's a duel, and it was just done really, really well. That is the entire point of this. I split it off from the review just because it's me gushing about it. But so many things with Benioff and Weiss were the Dunning-Kruger effect, where dumb people don't know they're dumb. The real thing is, people who don't know what they're talking about think that, oh, that'll be easy. Like, let's run a full-scale music festival on an isolated Caribbean island. How hard could it be? Anyone who knows the first, like Firefest, anyone who knows the first thing about setting up a festival knew how hard it was. Or how hard could brain surgery be? Are you a brain surgeon? No. That people who don't know what they're talking about tend to overestimate their abilities. And that with Benioff and Weiss, they thought they knew how to make, oh, this is good camera work, this is good writing, and this extends to specific technical checkpoints of its fight choreography and fight pacing that they really didn't know how to do. And on top of that, they wouldn't delegate it to their staff members who are like, the guy who is a career stunt coordinator knows how to make a fight scene better than you do. Let him do his job. And things that people point out, no, it's weird how people build up, oh, Benioff and Weiss are responsible for everything in the show, when, like, good shots of the Battle of the Bastards or something, like, the version of that they wanted to make was unfilmably bad. The good parts you like of that, just from direction and camera work, that's all Miguel Sapochnik succeeding in spite of them and not because of them. That all the other parts, and this got worse over time, that even I was a little surprised at just how much control they were able to exert in Season 8, even relative to Season 7. That these were problems going on since the beginning of the show that have been bad since Season 5 in terms of the writing, but how they got it in their heads that they knew camera work better than their own career directors, and you saw that shift, even though it was always tight close-ups on actor faces, how fight scenes would just drag on needlessly long. And Sapochnik even says in the commentary, the way, in a fit of rebellion, he re-edited the Winterfell battle. Originally it was just Arya hacking away at zombies for 10 minutes, then Brienne hacking away at them for 10 minutes, and he had to re-edit it together in montage against their objections, and there wasn't time to redo it, thankfully. Even though the whole thing's a failure anyway, it's just, do you understand what a fight scene is supposed to look like? And they really didn't. The comparison I've heard before is like, say what you will of M. Night Shyamalan, and he's had better movies in recent years, but when he tried to make an action movie with that original Last Airbender movie, I remember reviews pointing out specific things he got wrong in the film work on the fight scenes, that you don't do the whole thing in wide shot. You're supposed to use editing to keep the pacing tempo up, that there is a technical checklist for how to make a good fight scene regardless of context. Like, just some basic description. If I showed you like a Hong Kong martial arts movie or any other thing, just you can pretty much direct that independently of the story and go, oh, this is a really well put together fight scene. For like, even in the awards shows, like the Emmys have separate categories for good stunt work. You can have good stunt work in a bad show. Happens all the time, but Clegane Bowl was not a well done fight because they thought, let's just throw action on the screen, let's throw expensive stuff up there. And even the pacing was bizarre. It didn't have any cinematography to it. It was just needlessly long, to the point it got boring that it dragged on. So this is the main point, that designing a good fight sequence is no different than composing a great piece of music. Just as people compare, and I think it's an accurate comparison, dance as an art form. Like, performance dance is no different than music. It's just, instead of notes, there's elements of movement. And a fight scene is an extension of a dance almost, that there is a tempo to it, that there is a way you film it, and then the emotion and the writing. Pretty much every element of filmmaking comes in with a fight scene like that it requires, like a dialogue scene can have potentially relatively simplistic camera work. You need to have better camera work in a fight scene. You need extensive training so someone doesn't get hurt, so it's visually interesting. The focus is so much greater when you're putting together a fight scene as a work of art, and with the training you need to do. And it's the same stunt coordinator, but without the shackles of Benioff and Weiss micromanaging him all the time. Rolly Earlham, fight coordinator for most of Game of Thrones, and in the behind-the-scenes video he's talking about how for Cargyll Bowl, he was working with the twins. They trained an hour a day for 30 days. It took them 2 days to film this. They worked really hard on getting this right, and the amount of attention that, in the behind-the-scenes House of Dragons built thing, they say, we didn't just see this as, oh, yup, it's a fight scene. Nor did we try to overhype it as, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. They tried to be true to the moment. That rather than, like, Clegane Bowl was trying to sell us on hype in the trailers, and, oh, this is coming, and setting up that, oh, he's in season 7 when they're face-to-face again, they're going to fight each other. They just made a really good fight scene that suited the moment and suited the story. And from a technical standpoint, was very well done. That, purely in terms of skill, this isn't like a barroom brawl. This isn't two guys just laying into each other. These are two knights good enough that they're on the King's Guard. That these are two skilled warriors angrily fighting each other to the death. They're not just hacking away blindly. I'm thinking of the real fight choreography like you see in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. I would unironically compare this duel to the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. In terms of the amount of care that went into the choreography, and they said when they were making Revenge of the Sith, well, Anakin's supposed to be the best Jedi ever, but Obi-Wan is the man who trained him, so logically this has to be the lightsaber fight to end all lightsaber fights. They're two very skilled opponents going at each other from a technical standpoint. And then there's all the emotion going into the Jedi are basically brothers in a monastic order, that they don't have biological families. I like that in the spin-off TV show, Obi-Wan stressed, like, the other Jedi are basically my brothers and sisters. I don't have a biological family. We are inducted as children. And just how much he realized Order 66, that killed his family. It wasn't just either they are his brothers in arms, very literally in a way. So when he says, oh, Anakin, you were my brother, and all of this, I'm seeing that with the Cargyll twins, who are literal twin brothers, and the emotion that they made sure to put in. And it wasn't just two guys hacking away at each other either, that they paid attention to the writing, made it a point that both brothers are pleading their love for each other, even as they're in anguish at trying to kill each other. That the one who says, "You parted us, but I still love you," that's the quote-unquote bad one from Aegon. Because he's yelling, "You're the one that parted us, you went to Rhaenyra." So it wasn't just showing off, it was all aspects. I'm gushing here. It wasn't just good technical fight work from the stunt coordinator, which it was. He's showing these guys know how to fight. It was the what lines there were in terms of writing and characterization, mostly to the acting. Just make it a point to have them say, "Anguished, I still love you, but I gotta do this. I'm so angry." And the emotion of it and the performance of these guys all tied in, that this was telling a story. It wasn't just showing that off. And on top of that, the really careful camera work. If you haven't seen the House the Dragons Built thing, which is on YouTube, please check it out. The longer version, not the inside the episode, the longer thing. They devote a significant chunk to Earlham and director Claire Kilner talking about the time and care and attention that went into making this. And again, hardcore book fan who was not hyped for this whatsoever. Just, oh, it's nice they're not cutting that out. Blew me away. And it's just that they took the attention it deserved. When I say it's a generic idea, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, this is a trope. It's a trope for a reason. It's what you call an archetype. And as Ryan Condal himself says in the behind-the-scenes video, that, obviously we think of the phrase turned brother against brother was very famous from the American Civil War in the 1860s, but that it really stretches back to antiquity, as he pointed out, that like in the Arthurian legends, I think it's the Thomas Mallory version, not every version, but there's twin brothers at Arthur's court, Sir Balin and Sir Balin, who fight each other to the death in one story. And the one that struck to my mind, because it's older, is this is going back to like the dawn of literature, like the ancient Greeks, with Sophocles in his Antigone, which I hope a lot of you have read in high school. That's usually the one they show us, where it starts with the whole point is Oedipus's children are fighting for control of Thebes. His daughter is Antigone, and the two brothers of Oedipus fight a civil war for control over Thebes, personally kill each other on the battlefield in dark mockery, this dark mirror of a brotherly embrace. They kill each other, grappling. And the whole point is the rebel one, Antigone, wants to give an honorable burial because, well, he's still my brother, and then they say we have to execute you because we said anyone who tries to bury him will be executed because he's a traitor. And that's what Antigone's about. But the Seven Against Thebes and all the Aeschylus and all the other stuff, but just the Oedipus's children, that the two brothers kill each other on the battlefield, and goes to antiquity. In civil war, you're fighting your own people to the point you're literally brother against brother. So it's a trope, but it's an archetype for a reason. So it's not even the most original idea. And, it's straight from the book. It's something Martin just put in there. It's not even described in that much detail. It's an unreliable narrator moment in the book. And they just did it so well. And I actually like the impact of that they have Eric fall on his own sword at the end. I mean, even Westeros.org was like, wow, that's so much better that he doesn't kill himself in the book, but the idea that I'd be so anguished at killing my own twin brother that he'd fall on his own sword fits the sequence. And the book, it says either they died right away cursing at each other, or they were weeping as they fought, and the one brother was mortally wounded, but it took him hours to die. This version is so much more impactful. And the book fan sites are saying this is more impactful. That it's not always just, oh, this is line for line, not exactly like the book. The book fans, the hardcore ones like Westeros.org, are in love with this. It was a slight difference in something that was an unreliable narrator moment anyway. And just that they took a general idea and did it really, really well. That's Cargyll Bowl. Clegane Bowl got everything wrong, even though in many cases it's literally the same people. Rolly Earlham was the fight coordinator on both. It's it, particularly in Season 8, Benioff and Weiss were micromanaging their people. And consider, even narratively, why are you hyping up Clegane Bowl so much? And in the final version on screen anyway, I think the books will be different. I think it'll be a trial by combat with stakes. But in the TV version, there's no stakes to it whatsoever, either physically or emotionally. I mean, Gregor is literally a zombie. Even before he was a zombie, he was a mass murderer and a rapist. And who wouldn't want to kill him? It's that black and white morality of let's have Jon Snow fighting Ramsay. Well, okay, you made a cartoon villain who's so over the top, there's really... Some people fell for that. Oh, I hate this person so much. That's emotional manipulation. The entire point of Martin's writing is what we're seeing in House of the Dragon, where that Aegon isn't a mustache-twirling villain. That there are things that Rhaenyra's side does which are hard to justify. That's the point. They're people. They're flawed. To the point that you literally have these two twin brothers fighting. And I hate when people go, oh, there's the good one, and then there's the evil one that Aegon sent. You see very clearly in the episode he does not want to go, both because it is a suicide mission, and because he says the Kingsguard are sworn to defend. It is dishonorable for me to sneak in and strike down Rhaenyra. He says that on screen. And he apologizes to Rhaenyra when he starts. He says, this was not my choice. Simply because even though he sided with Aegon, just not on the proving ground of the battlefield, but on the I'm going to sneak in and kill you in your bed, that's dishonorable. He is not evil, the evil brother, on any level. That's just he has this duty and he was ordered to and he really doesn't want to, and this happens. Versus let's hack up that zombie who doesn't talk. And in typical Benioff and Weiss fashion, they would throw money at the screen to try to make up for that. It worked in Battle of the Bastards. People said how amazing it was because of all the stuff in the background, even though the narrative made no sense. That there's no stakes to that we want Gregor to die. We don't want the twins to have to kill each other. In Cargyll Bowl, the Clegane Bowl, there's all this expensive stuff. There's going to be the concept art I'm thinking of, where they show there's this burning city behind them as the castle is falling apart around them and the walls are falling down so they can see the burning city. And this is just VFX and window dressing. And in terms of the actual fight scene, while brutal, again, they did that thing that they did in Season 8 more than any other season, where they would order the directors, no, this has to be, it's not a cool fight scene because it is long. They somehow got that in their heads, and it just dragged on and on. That pacing is a concept they never understood. So even on top of that, there's no narrative stakes. It's just him versus Gregor. On top of that, it's not even like I have to defeat Gregor to get up to the tower to save Arya or something. Like, he's not even racing against the clock to save someone, and he's the dragon guarding the princess, as it were. He has no stakes with Gregor, nor is defeating Gregor achieving some other stakes, like he has to save someone. They threw in a bunch of special effects. On top of that, another major thing is how well they worked with the stunt people on this versus... If you've seen that Last Watch documentary where they actually show Rory McGann was nearly passing out from heat exhaustion. Because their answer in Season 8 was, and in every season, it just got worse. Rather than trust the crew and department heads to do their job, they'd order them to work twice as hard to make up for their own deficiencies as writers. It actually reminds me of what Kristen does to Eric, where he's shifting the blame to him. You are the one who has to work hard and kill Rhaenyra when this was your fault. And this happened all the time, even in, drama scenes. We'd hear these nightmare stories of them saying they were making us film dozens of takes more than we normally do on physically or emotionally draining scenes. Because they said it has to be perfect, and eventually the actors are there going, there is only so much we can do to elevate your fundamentally weak script, and they didn't want to hear it. So their answer was, oh no, we are relying on you to elevate what we wrote. They did everything they could, they gave it their all, this is your fault. So I'm thinking of Rory McCann, there's video of this, Rory McCann nearly passing out from heat exhaustion, and them insisting on him doing more takes, because, damn it, we're relying on you to make this better than we wrote it. Or how they ordered it to be filmed, that the camera work isn't that good, and it drags on too long, and There's no narrative stakes to it, but no, Rory will give such an amazing performance, it'll make up for that. That their mental concept of this is very much in the moment. Actor emoting in a close-up is what story is to them. Versus, yeah, we let the stunt coordinator Earlham work closely with director Kilner and her cinematographer. We put together a fight scene long in advance, and we made it a point to stay true to the characterization stakes by frequently pausing to have both brothers say they don't want to do this, they love each other, and they're anguished at doing this. Just, I could be gushing more, I'm already 20 minutes into this, just the utter contrast and direct parallel between Clegane Bowl and Cargyll Bowl. That Cargyll Bowl, it's generic, not that it's a bad thing, just the Arthurian stuff, the ancient Greek stuff. It's an arc. I think it's a trope for a reason. I don't have a problem with that. It's just we weren't even particularly hyped. Some people were trying to get overhyped. The clickbaiters who want to overhype. It's going to be the next Clegane Bowl. Clegane Bowl wasn't the next Clegane Bowl. I walked into this just expecting a decent fight scene, and it was just really well executed. That's the difference that good execution makes. And while it comes into focus for this scene, by extension, it's the rest of House of the Dragon, particularly how good this episode was. And the writers did have good ideas, like the idea of let's have a funeral progress was entirely, they said that was Sarah Hess's idea, it's not in the book, we thought it was a good idea. But TV producers are supposed to elevate the source material in a visual medium. That inherently a sword fight on TV is better than reading about it because it's a visual event. Versus frequently on Game of Thrones, we retroactively realized this was the source material elevating weak writers. Even in the first 4 seasons, they were coasting along on that these are adaptations of really good books that they didn't write. So like in terms of, there's this thing called the Faith of the Seven, there's this thing where there's the Wall, and there's White Walkers, and Jon Snow's secretly a Targaryen bastard. None of these were their ideas. Versus House of the Dragon, while also actually inventing some things I like, just even something that was in the book. The brothers duel each other, weeping their love for each other, and they die in each other's arms. And just with really good execution managed to do it. And that's what I hope more people are talking about. Isn't just because you see so many channels talking about this as if these are real people. That, I can't believe the Cargyll brothers did this. The writers did this. And there is good writing, there is good acting, but I want to see more praise of the technical crew. From the stunt coordinator to the director to just everything else going on in this. So I will link directly in the description box. I think it's still free on YouTube. The point in the House of Dragons built tie-in thing for episode 2 where they are talking about the care and attention they put into doing this well. That they wanted to elevate the source material, but at the same time there's that perfect balance of we want this to be great, but we don't want to overhype it and oversell it as this thing is going to be so awesome, so we want to be true to the story that's in our heads. And it was beautiful. And so that's why I split off this rant, so please check out them talking about this. Just this is the difference execution makes when you have competent showrunners who actually trust their technical department heads and let them do their own damn jobs instead of micromanaging them because you think you know better than them.